So is Yemen on the cusp of breaking up? On 2nd January, separatists announced to hold a referendum on independence in 2 years' time. They even have a name for the new country, South Arabia. The move follows a lightning grab of land in the war-torn country.
We announced the start of a transitional period lasting 2 years, and the Southern Transitional Council calls on the international community to sponsor dialogue between the concerned parties in the South and the North on a path and mechanisms that guarantee the rights of the people of the South within the specified time frame. This will be accompanied by a popular referendum regulating the exercise of the right to self-determination for the people of the South through peaceful and transparent mechanisms consistent with internationally recognized rules and practices, with the participation of international observers.
Now, the statement by the UAE-backed Southern Transitional Council is the clearest indication yet of its intention to secede. It comes close on the heels of the Saudi Arabia-backed internationally recognized government of Yemen launching a military operation to recapture the crucial Hadramout province, one of the main areas seized by separatists in December. Hadramout's governor has been granted full military, security and administrative authority to restore security and order immediately if attacks continued. Now, the surprise announcement of an independence referendum means that Yemen, which was divided into North and South from 1967 to 1990, could again be split by January 2028. Remember, North and South Yemen were separate states until they merged in 1990. Now, South Yemen was the only communist Arab state and agreed unification with the North after its main financial patron, the Soviet Union, collapsed. After unification, the North dominated and the main Southern party tried to secede, leading to a brief war in 1994 that was quickly won by the northern government based in Sana'a. Meanwhile, in the north, the Houthi group emerged in the late 1990s, fighting guerrilla wars against the government over what they saw as marginalization of their Zaidi Shiite sect. After Arab Spring protests erupted in 2011, Yemen's army fell apart. Gulf countries backed a transition with an interim government in Sana'a and talks on a new constitution that was opposed by both the Houthis and the southern separatists. The Houthis captured Sana'a in 2014 and the interim government fled to the south in 2015 with a Saudi Arabia-led coalition intervening on its behalf against the Houthis. The wealthy Gulf Arab states of Saudi Arabia and the UAE form the backbone of the anti-Houthi military coalition. But despite a brutal decade-long civil war, the Houthis remain in place, while in sharp contrast, the Saudis and Emiratis are backing different factions in the government-held territories. So, why did the understanding between Saudi Arabia and the UAE break down? One reason is the surprise advance of the UAE-backed Southern Transitional Council in early December. The separatists now control large swathes of land, including the strategically important and oil-rich Hadramout province. Their sweep through the south brought the separatist group within reach of Yemen's border with Saudi Arabia, in an area to which many prominent Saudis trace their origins lending it cultural and historical significance for them. The seizure of areas in the east also means that the Southern Transitional Council now holds much of Yemen's modest oil reserves and production facilities. Now, even the takeover of Aden, the old southern capital, poses problems for the Saudi Arabia-backed government because it is headquartered there. Many cabinet ministers are loyal to the UAE-backed separatists rather than the Saudi Arabia-supported government. On 30th December, the Saudi Arabia-led coalition bombed a shipment docking at Yemen's Mukalla port. Saudi Arabia claimed that it was unauthorized Emirati military gear headed to the Southern Transitional Council. The Saudis did not mince words. They declared that national security is a red line for them and demanded that the Southern Transitional Council pull back from Hadramout and elsewhere. It was Riyadh's strongest language yet in the falling out between the two neighbors who once cooperated in a coalition against the Iran-aligned Houthis, but whose interests have since been diverging over time. The UAE denies the Saudi allegations. The Emirate says it remains committed to dialogue, de-escalation and internationally supported processes as the only sustainable path to peace. The UAE has since pulled out all its troops from Yemen, which may ease tensions somewhat, but the crisis simmers as questions remain over whether the Emiratis will keep supporting the southern separatists. Sudan is another source of friction between Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Saudi Arabia backs the Sudanese armed forces while the Emirates backs a paramilitary called the Rapid Support Forces. Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman asked US President Donald Trump to intervene in Sudan when they met in Washington, D.C. in November 2025. Now, Saudi Emirati rivalry in Yemen has implications for global security. For one, Yemen overlooks the Bab al-Mandab Strait, a narrow waterway connecting the Red Sea to the Gulf of Aden. And therefore, it is a critical maritime trade route between Europe and Asia. Any instability in Yemen will have a ripple effect across the region and beyond. Also, Saudi Arabia and the UAE are both major players in the OPEC oil exporters group. Any disagreements between them could hamper consensus on oil output. Yemen's civil war has been frozen along relatively stable front lines for years now. But the Southern Transitional Council's takeover of much of the south now risks upsetting that fragile status quo. There's a risk of reigniting a full-scale civil war with the Iran-backed Houthis who reject southern secession. So, all things considered, Yemen is a powder keg and might remain so until something gives.